I get a lot of questions on narcissism on this channel, and I've noticed lately a pattern that many of the questions fall into 3 buckets. And they're basically variations of the same 3 questions. Now, this isn't all of the questions and comments, but a lot of them do fall into these categories. So I wanted to make a video to cover all 3 answers. And the questions are: 1, am I the narcissist? 2, can NPD be cured? And 3, how do you really know if the person you're with has true narcissism or could be diagnosed with NPD, or if they just have highly narcissistic traits that they've picked up somewhere else? And these questions are actually quite related to one another. So we're going to cover them all in this video today. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina, and on this channel we explore emotional abuse, its potential connection with spirituality, and we attempt to answer the question, where do we go from here? So if that all sounds good to you, be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. So today we're answering a few common questions that I get on this channel. So the first question is, am I the narcissist? And I have a whole video about this, and I'm not going to recount everything that I talk about in that video. I'll just link to that one. But the gist of it is, if you're truly questioning whether you're a narcissist, you probably aren't, because narcissists aren't really capable of the level of self-reflection that would be needed to actually answer that question. But if you're like me, that answer wasn't quite enough. So that's why I made a video on it, to explore it from different angles. So I'm going to link to that video. I suggest you watch it if you're asking yourself this question. But the reason why we ask ourselves this question is because none of us are perfect, unless you're a narcissist, which is the irony in the question. We're not perfect, and that's why we ask ourselves, okay, well, I did something that was passive aggressive. Does that make me a narcissist? Or if you identify with one of the behaviors that we talk about in this community that are very common among narcissists, if you can identify with having done that before, does that make you a narcissist? I have one video that I'll link to that kind of goes through how narcissism may present itself in your relationship. And you can also look to diagnostic criteria like the DSM-5 to see how narcissism is really diagnosed. The answer is it's really not a simple process. And if you think that you are and you want to change your ways, then I would suggest talking to somebody who can maybe help you work through that. So the next question, which is very much related, is, can narcissism be cured? And if you look to all the experts in the field, they're all saying no, it cannot be cured. It's not something that you can cure, but it's something that you can treat. But the reason why most people ask this question is because they're looking for hope that the person that they're with will change. And that leads us to the next question. How do you really know if somebody you're with has NPD and an incurable disorder, or if they just have highly narcissistic traits? And now, like I said, these questions are all intertwined, because if you've taken a deep look within and have seen narcissistic traits within yourself, it begs the question, if you're with somebody who has highly narcissistic traits, how do you know if they're a narcissist, or if they're exhibiting narcissistic traits but not a true narcissist? There's really one answer to this question, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There are ways to tell, of course, because there wouldn't be a way to diagnose narcissism if there weren't ways to tell. But it's very complicated, and it's very difficult for someone on the outside to be able to diagnose someone else. Now, if you're living with somebody, you have a unique advantage to see how that person acts in various situations. And you may see enough to know for yourself that this person likely has a disorder that cannot be cured. That may be what you need to walk away. I know for me it was helpful to look at these things and to really dig deep into what narcissism is, because at the point when I started learning about covert narcissism, I was already very deep into it. And there was a lot of intermittent reinforcement. There was a lot of hope that things could be different. So what we all tend to do, we tend to cling to that hope that things could be different. But that kind of brings us to the answer. So it doesn't matter if the person can change and just isn't changing, or if they actually can't change. What matters is what we will allow in our lives, what we will accept. And if somebody you're with is acting in a way that's emotionally abusive to you, if you can identify that you feel worse when you're with this person, when you're in this relationship with this person, than you feel when you're out of the relationship or before you got into it, that should give you enough to think about whether this is something you want to continue with or not. So in the end, you may be dealing with somebody who would be diagnosed with NPD. Maybe you're dealing with somebody who was diagnosed with NPD. Or maybe you're dealing with somebody who is highly, highly narcissistic and emotionally abusive. The end result to you is going to be the same. Knowing whether it's NPD doesn't change your experience. It doesn't change your history with this person. And it doesn't change the way that person made you feel. So those are all things that we need to be looking at and deciding whether that's something we want to accept in our lives or not. So if you like this video, please let me know by hitting the like button. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe, and I will see you next time.